Hey everybody, welcome to Big Friendly Grub and welcome to the third part of our National Biscuit Day special trilogy, which is a lot to say in one go. Yes, this is the third part of our biscuit trilogy, and is it going to be The Return of the King or is it going to be The Godfather Part 3? Well, I'm hoping it will be the former because that was great, whereas the other one not so much. So what's going to be in store for us today on this third part? Well, we've already had me reviewing biscuits where I ate a load of biscuits, and we've already had me making my own version of chocolate digestives, which turned out very nice. Could be improved upon, I will admit. For a first attempt at chocolate digestives, I think you'll agree they were pretty good. But today we are changing our direction and moving in the direction of mainland Europe, and more specifically Italy, because today I will be showing you how to make biscotti. And before some of you start going, oh, biscotti, it's National Biscuit Day in the UK, foreign biscuits coming over here taking our biscuits jobs, Firstly, shut up. Secondly, the UK is made up of multiple different cultures. It stems from hundreds and hundreds of years of history of us being invaded and different cultures coming over and bringing their recipes and things like that. And biscotti are fantastic. You'll see biscotti in coffee shops everywhere. You'll see them sold in shops and everywhere, but there's nothing quite like making your own. So what I want to do today is to just show you how to make your own. They're really quite simple. There's a few steps. They require a little bit of patience because biscotti need to be baked twice. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite possible, biscotti means twice baked or to bake twice, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, you bake them once, chop them up, and then bake them again. But enough preamble, I'm going to be showing you how to make chocolate, orange, almond biscotti. And if that doesn't float your boat, then to you. Anyway, come join me over here in the kitchen and we'll get started with how to make these biscotti. Come. So the ingredients for our biscotti, they're quite simple actually. What you're going to need is plain flour, just regular plain flour, caster sugar, and I'm not using golden caster sugar this time like I have on the previous few recipes, just because I think the standard will work absolutely fine in this. So just normal caster sugar, baking powder, nothing very exciting about that. We'll also need 4 eggs, which I've already beaten. You don't need to see me beat eggs. Stick them in the bowl, get a fork, beat them, that's it. You also need some blanched almonds, some chocolate chips. I've gone for dark chocolate chip. You can go for milk chocolate chips, entirely up to you. We'll also need the we'll also need the zest of an orange and some orange extract, just for that little extra orange kick. And that's it, that's all we need. So come over here and let's make some biscotti. Beam me up, biscotti. I don't know why I said that. I think I'm losing it in this video. What's happening? So here we are in our familiar position with the bowl and the scales. So let's just get started. So first of all, 500 grams of flour. I'm going to start off with using this old bag.
Baby, bye, bye, bye.
Ooh, that's 400. Then I'll just open up the new bag to add a little bit more. Oh, too much, Captain. I don't know what's with all the Star Trek references this afternoon. There we go, 500 G's of flour. So next we'll be adding in the caster sugar. I'm going to add in 250 grams of caster sugar, so half of the flour. If you don't want your biscotti quite sweet, you don't need to add as much sugar. You'll see there are some lumps of caster sugar in there, but don't worry, I'm going to be going through this with a whisk, which will just break up those lumps. You can sieve it if you want to, but with caster sugar, don't worry too much. Then next, a teaspoon of the baking powder. Get that in there as well. Then I'm just going to grab a whisk, like I said, and just go in and break up any major lumps in this. So there we go, that's all our flour, sugar and baking powder mixed up together. Then I'm just going to grab a wooden spoon and make a well in the middle and pour in our eggs. And also at the same time, I'm going to put in a teaspoon of our orange extract. And then just start to bring this all together. Notice there's no butter or anything like that. Biscotti are a very hard dry biscuit, but that's what makes them so great for dipping in hot drinks, especially coffee or hot chocolate. They do go all right with tea, but there's something about either coffee or hot chocolate that really works best with these. So that's starting to come together. I'm going to dive in with my hands now to start bringing it all together. Kind of like we've done previously with our pastry, other bits and pieces like that. Really want to get in there and try and get all these bits of dough. It seems quite dry at the moment, but the more we bring it together, the more it should come together into a dough, get all the eggs combined into there. You can see we're starting to pick up all these loose bits of dough. It smells really good as well with that orange extract in there. Right, I'm gonna tip that out onto our work surface now and just kind of work it in until it's a bit smoother. You see, I'm not adding anything else into that. You could be tempted to add milk into it or something like that because it seems quite dry, but really once you start working it, it comes together quite well and becomes smoother. So you can see that's come together quite nicely now. It's a little bit sticky, that's okay. So it's stuck to my hands. But what we're going to want to do now is, I'm just going to pop some flour down underneath it. I'm going to stretch it out because this is where we're going to want to get our filling in. Not filling, but you know, our almonds, our chocolate and our orange zest. You can see this is sticking down there. But this is what these things are for. You might have seen me use this in the bread recipe. It's a plastic dough scraper which you can get from most places online. So pick one up, they're about £1, really useful. Now I'm going to use this fine grater. I'll probably use a finer one if I had one, but I don't, so this will do. I'm just going to zest my orange. Just going to zest it straight into here. Don't go so deep that you start getting the juice out. Just want to get a good amount of this zest off. So there we go, that works. That's some orange zest. Then you want to add in your almonds. You can chuck them in whole, that's absolutely fine, because remember when we bake this for the second time, we're going to be chopping it up and this will chop those almonds with it. And likewise for our chocolate chunks, chuck those in as well. There's probably about 100 grams of both there, so 100 grams of chocolate chunks, 100 grams of almonds, and then I'm just going to fold this over and really start to work these all through this dough. It's going to start to go everywhere at first, but don't worry, start to really mix these all through thoroughly, getting them all through the dough, distributing them through as much as you possibly can. You can see it's a super sticky dough, but that's absolutely fine. It makes a bit of a mess, but you clear up afterwards. Don't worry about it, just focus on getting all those ingredients worked into the dough. Which, to be honest, it's pretty much there, I think. So I think those are all mixed into the dough. It feels pretty evenly distributed to me. So now I'm going to move this to one side, quickly clear this area up, and then I'll show you what to do with it next. So next, what I've already got here is a baking tray with some baking paper on top of it, which I have already dusted with a bit of flour, because as you've probably seen, it's quite a sticky dough and I want to minimise the chances of it sticking. Then I'm going to grab our dough and kind of shape it out, because this is going to kind of depend on how you want the shape of your biscotti, the size of your biscotti, but you're going to kind of want it in like a ciabatta shape, I would say. Try and shape it out as best as you can. So you're going to want that kind of shape. So you can see I've kind of squared it off a bit, a little bit of a rounded end. But what we're going to do is we're going to bake this for probably about 35 minutes and about 160 degrees C temperature, so quite low really, and it's going to bake for a while. This is going to rise up hopefully, and then once that's baked, it's going to come out the oven and we're going to cut across into our biscotti shape. And once we've cut our biscotti shape, it will then be baked again to crisp up even further. So let's go lob this in the oven. Well, not literally lob it, but put it in the oven, give it 30 to 35 minutes and come back then and see how it's done. So I am just opening the oven now to retrieve our biscotti. Whoa! So that has come up a treat. Oh, and I have just burnt myself. Don't do that. You should learn from my mistakes. Do as I say, not do as I do. Well, actually, do as I do when it comes to the recipe. Don't do as I do when it comes to burning myself. Anyway, as we can see, being very careful, this has risen up a treat, and we are going to get some very nice biscotti out of these. So you can see this has risen up really nicely. We are going to get some really nice biscotti out of this. Unfortunately now, what we need to do is to wait for this to cool absolutely completely, which is a bummer because I really want to get these done now. But what we are going to do is, once this is cooled, we are going to cut, as I mentioned earlier, once this is cooled, what we're going to do is we're going to cut across to make these into our biscotti shape, and then they will go back onto this tray and bake again for about another 15 minutes. But now it is a lesson in patience, as we need to wait for this to cool down now. So I will see you again in however long it takes for this to cool down. Right, we're back, and this has now pretty much cooled entirely. It's still a little bit warm, but that's okay. It's probably had about 50 minutes, nearly an hour. You could probably leave it longer, but it's getting quite late here, and I'm more concerned about lighting more than anything else. So I've got a serrated knife here, and we're going to want to cut these into about 2 centimeters, I think. So I'm going to start over here and just cut into this. The end bit's the toughest part, so got to be careful. Then do another. Just take it slowly. You don't want to rush it. You don't want to break them. Take it slow. Slow and steady wins the race. So what I'm doing is I'm just sawing backwards and forwards just to get through it at first, and then I can put a little bit more pressure down to cut through. So you can see we're kind of getting that biscotti shape. So it's a little bit soft in the middle here. Probably could have done with an extra 5 minutes in the oven actually. But once we actually bake this through for the second time, it should actually come and get that nice hard biscotti texture that we're all familiar with. So just going to carry on with these, not worry about it. So there we go, these are all cut into our biscotti shape, and we're now going to get these onto our baking tray to bake up. So I'm going to go do that because you don't need to watch me put these on a baking tray. So I've got these all laid out onto baking trays. There was a few too many for just one tray, so I put a few onto this tray. So these now need to go into the oven for about 180 degrees to bake for a second time. Because these are slightly underdone from the first bake, I'll probably give them a little bit longer than I usually do. I would usually say I usually give them about 15 minutes in the oven, but probably what I'll do is I'll give them about 10, then come back, check them, and then probably turn them over so the other side gets a good browning for another 10 minutes. So they'll probably have about 20 minutes in total, but I'm going to keep an eye on them. But we'll bake these up, we'll check them in about 10 minutes, then probably turn them over and come back. So we'll see you then. So these have had about 10 minutes, and you can see that they've actually browned up quite nicely. The ones where they were going a little bit soft in the middle, you can see they've actually firmed up some. They've not firmed up completely in the middle, but once we turn them over and bake them again on the other side, they will probably have firmed up quite nicely. So let's quickly turn these over. I've got a pair of tongs, tong, 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 tong. Oh, this one looks like it wants to break. But to be fair, if it wants to break, let it. It will taste just as good if it's in 2 pieces than if it's in 1. See, again, this side still a bit too soft, but once it's baked through, be fine. Turn it over. To be honest, I'm doing these with my fingers. It's so much easier. Not that hot. You just do it quick. Well, it is hot, but you just do it quick. So there we go, these are all turned over, and these are going to go back into the oven probably for about another 10 minutes to do the same on the other side, and that should sort out these soft bits in the middle, and we'll be back then. So these have had another probably about 10-15 motorbike going by. So these have had another 10 to 15 minutes in the oven. You can see they've all crisped up quite nicely now. You might be able to hear that, me tapping it. Still quite hot, but not too hot. And so now we are probably going to have to give these time to cool down completely, unfortunately, before we can try them. But the ones that were a bit too soft in the middle, they're pretty much cooked up quite nicely. You can probably hear that. The only thing I would have done differently is an extra 5-10 minutes in the oven the first time around. But they smell great. Really good. So yeah, we just need to leave these to cool down completely now. And then we'll come back and we'll check them out properly. Probably not going to leave them to cool as long as I usually do because I'm running out of light rapidly here. But we'll be back as soon as we can. See you in a bit. Right, the biscotti have had a little bit of time to cool, but to be honest, I'm running out of light. It's getting dark in here. It's getting dark in here, but I'm staying in my clothes. Much to the relief of everyone. Yeah, I want to try and show you the biscotti before it gets too dark and I've run out of light. So I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to try one now. Well, they're still a bit warm, but to be fair, they seem pretty good already. So I'm going to have this one, which is kind of breaking in half already, but you can see it's come out pretty nicely. And I'm going to try one now. Should have a good crunch on it. And it does have a really good crunch on it. You probably heard. I know some of you probably don't like the sound of people eating. I apologise for that, but can't be helped with these. But that's really good. It tastes banging. And it must be good because I just said banging. And it is a little bit chewier than it should be, but it's because they haven't cooled down completely. Once they're cool, they should have a real good crunch on it. And for the ultimate test, I have made myself a coffee. It is 20 to 9 at night and I'm having a coffee, but that's how committed I am to showing you how these should be eaten. So you take your coffee, do a good dunk. Those are really good. You get a kick of the orange, but it's not too overpowering. And you get the crunch of the biscuit and the almonds and a little bit of the chocolate, which when you have it with the coffee complements each other really nicely. So I'm pretty happy with these. Yeah, okay, they didn't have quite the bake that they should have first time round. What these videos are all about is me showing you, guiding you how to do these. Occasionally I'll make mistakes. Occasionally I won't do things quite as I should. I've made these before and they've come out a lot better than this. But these are still good and they're quite simple to make. So I would say, give them a try. Yeah, once you've tried homemade biscotti, you're probably not going to want store-bought ones anymore. Like anything, it's always better if it's homemade. I know everyone says it, but it's generally true. So I would definitely say, give them a go. So that's pretty much it from me, and that's it for our biscuit trilogy. It's kind of like the Cornetto trilogy, but less Simon Pegg and not quite as funny. But I'm pretty happy with what we've made. Hopefully it will give you the incentive to go try making your own biscuits, whether it's chocolate digestives, biscotti, or just sitting down and eating through 20 packets of biscuits. It's up to you what you want to try. And I am now going to go and finish off my biscotti and my cup of coffee and probably stay awake until 2 o'clock in the morning. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye. So I've still got a little bit of light left, so I want to stack these up quickly in a fancy pants manner and show you how they came out. Really happy with those, so go and give them a go, and we'll see you on the next Big Friendly Grub. And my voice might go even higher than this. I'll see you then. Bye.